Now this is definitely the best $60 I have ever spent on my home theater. I mean, really, let's just kind of face it though, $60 isn't a lot to spend on home theater. In fact, it's like the price of a new Xbox One or PlayStation 4 game. So, you know, for $60 you can't really get much anymore. Yet this device that I'm about to show you has completely revolutionized my home theater, and it was only $60. Now here it is, it's the Dayton Audio Dsp Lf. It's a DSP for your subwoofer that can automatically tune it to your room. Now before I lose you, let me just try to help you understand what that does and why you might actually need one. No matter how much you spend on your speakers or your subwoofer, they are tuned using what they call an anechoic chamber measurement. What that basically means is if your speaker couldn't react with anything else, so like if it was floating in midair and nothing else was around it, that's how your speakers would sound. So when you see these measurements of your speaker or subwoofer, or you read them, that's what you think you're purchasing, or that's what you think you're getting. But it's not. That's because we aren't all just floating around in space listening to our speakers with nothing around us. Although I gotta be honest, that'd be kind of cool, wouldn't it? Here's what that actually means. As soon as we take our speakers and we put it in a room, our sound that comes from the speakers is gonna react with that room. Now you might wanna blame the speaker manufacturers for your speakers not sounding quite like you thought they would, but it's really not their fault. See, every room's gonna react differently, and that's because of all the stuff you have in it. No room is shaped exactly the same necessarily. No one's gonna have your exact same furniture in it, and no one's gonna have the exact same finishing. I mean, even the type of flooring is going to affect the way the sound waves react with that room. See, that's the reason why room correction software is built into pretty much every new home theater receiver, and that's why people pay money for room treatments. Unfortunately, a lot of these home theater receivers that do have that room correction software are designed to adjust your main speakers, but they're not designed to actually change the DSP on your subwoofer. Now this is problematic because your subwoofer is actually the sound that's going to react with the room the most. And that's due to the fact that low frequency sound waves, i.e. subwoofer sound waves, are longer and thus react with your room more. So as you put your subwoofer in your room, you no longer are getting the response the manufacturer claims. Basically, the response isn't what you want it to be. Now this will always be an issue that will need to be adjusted for. Some of the most common ways you may experience this is that you get what they call really boomy bass, or bass that just keeps going around the room. Maybe not that real tight bass that you thought you were gonna get. Another way is maybe you find yourself constantly fiddling with the volume of your subwoofer. Some movies it sounds perfectly fine, yet the next movie is way too loud. Or in some cases, it's during the exact same movie. You see, for $60, this device takes care of all those problems. What it does is it takes your subwoofer and it automatically tunes it to your individual room. So basically, it helps guarantee you're receiving the response you thought you were buying in the first place. Now let's go ahead and take a look at how this works. In general, there's not much to hooking this thing up. It just has an in and out in the form of a 3.5mm jack. Now I bought these, which actually convert the 3.5mm jack to RCA. I'll put some links in the description for you if you're interested in these. But all you have to do is plug your RCA from your receiver into the DSP and out of the DSP into the subwoofer amplifier. Then just plug up the USB power cable and you are ready to go. Now this device uses an app to tune your subwoofer. This app is called iWoofer. Now you can do this manually via Android, but it's easiest to do with an iDevice such as an iPhone or an iPad. Because with an iDevice, you can actually use an auto-tune feature. Now this is where this device really separates itself. So let me show you how that works. First, you need to buy the $5 iWoofer Pro app. Once that is installed, you just open it, navigate to room calibration, and then wizard. From here, the app's gonna guide you through the rest of the process. The first step is to take a near field response of your subwoofer. Why? What we're trying to do is see what your subwoofer is capable of without the room interfering. So the closer we get to the subwoofer, the less the room interferes with it. So to do this, it really depends on the type of subwoofer you have. Now if you have a sealed subwoofer, you're just gonna put the iPhone microphone as close to the cone as possible, but not too close, you don't wanna hit it. And for a ported enclosure, you will place it about halfway between the port and the woofer. Now I'm going to show you on a passive radiator subwoofer, which is really a form of a ported subwoofer. So I'm just going to place mine in between the passive radiator and the subwoofer itself. And now I'm just going to test that near field response. And honestly, the response that I get is pretty good. It's about what I expected from this subwoofer to do. Now let's go ahead and take a measurement from the main listening position. That's the next step that we have to do. What we're going to see here is how much the room reacts with the original subwoofer signal. Once we get into position, we're just going to point the microphone towards the subwoofer and take a measurement. Once that is complete, I'm going to get the in-room response. Now what I want you to notice from this graph is how far away that green line has deviated from the blue line. I'm now getting a huge peak around 40 Hertz, and it's dropping off fast. That means that this room really has accentuated that frequency, which is not at all what I want. When that frequency hits, it's going to be close to twice as loud as I want it to be. So let's go ahead and correct that. The next screen offers a few options. These are explained in the manual, but the two most common that you're going to be using is either boomy region or linear. For those of you who just want to get rid of the boomy region of their sub, you're going to select boomy region. For those of you who want a flat, aka linear response, you're going to select linear. Linear helps you achieve your ideal response at your listening area. Said plainly, it's going to give you back the response you thought you were getting when you bought the subwoofer. Now this is the one I'm going to be using, and really the one that I think most people should be using anyway. And what I find is crazy is that after I did its measurements, it applied over 100 different corrections. And the response afterwards, well, you can see it. It's pretty unbelievably different and pretty much completely flat. I am absolutely amazed. I mean, this is incredible for something that only costs $60. It has completely transformed my theater experience, has completely transformed the response of my subwoofer, and made it sound so much better. Now, after I finished, I tested it out and gave it a good listen. Mainly, I wanted to try out a couple movies. As I was testing it, my son quickly joined me, and my wife followed right after that, and the party started. You know what's crazy is that we could all easily hear the difference, although my son is 4, so he might have just agreed.
You know that's right.
Either way, it was a noticeable difference. Gone are the boomy parts of the movie and the constant fiddling with the subwoofer. Instead, all I get is the perfect response, which is what I wanted when, in this case, I actually built the subwoofer, but whenever you bought the subwoofer for you. It really is an incredible value. But I'm sure you're wondering if there are any faults. There are a few things that I wish could be improved upon. First, you can't auto-tune with an Android device. Now, I spoke with Dayton's engineers, and they explained that the app can adjust for an iPhone since they have the same microphones in each particular iPhone. They can't account for all the different Android model and all the different Android model microphones. So if you have an Android, you'll have to either manually tune it, which you can do with like an SPL meter, you can do it by ear, or if you have a calibrated microphone, which is kind of expensive, you could also do it with that. Now typically getting an iPhone over to your house really wouldn't be an issue, but during a pandemic, well, I'm an Android user, I found it quite a bit harder. I ended up borrowing someone's old iPhone and paying them for the app, and even still, I don't regret my Android purchase at all. Well, that's definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind. Next, the cables it comes with, well, they don't really help, and I personally wish it just had RCA on the back of it. If you already have your subwoofer in a spot, you have an RCA cable run to it. There is no way with the cables that it comes with to directly hook that up. That's why I bought the adapters that I did. Now, they are cheap, but it would be nice if they came with it or that it already had RCA included. Now, it only cost me $5 for the app to auto-tune it and another $12 for the adapters. Some people have said that at that price there's competition such as like the mini DSP, which is only true if you don't care about the auto-tune, since the mini DSP does not offer that. To me, that's what makes the Dayton Dsp Lf really special. Anyone can buy this and tune their subwoofer. You don't have to learn any special programming. You don't have to do any type of learning of the program. You just have to follow a few on-screen prompts. And not only does it offer an incredibly easy auto-tune, but it does it really well. Now, having said that, in the future, I would like to see if they could implement a package deal that would include something like the IMM6 microphone, which would plug just right into any phone or tablet and then use the app. Now, if anyone is considering buying this, if you have access to an iDevice, even for just like 15 minutes, I'd say that this is a definite buy. Now, I can't think of a better way to spend $60 that can impact your listening experience more. Now, if you're stuck on Android and you can't get an iPhone or iPad to your house, then it's still a good buy, but you have other options. Now, I personally would still buy it just knowing that I can auto-tune at a later date and time with an iDevice, but really that decision is going to be up to you. Now, I hope this review helped some of you guys, and if it did, give me a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell. That way you don't miss any of the brand new content that I have coming out. Now, I want to hear your thoughts, so make sure to leave them in the comments section. I'm 123 Toyd, and I'm out to go watch a movie.
Bye, YouTube. Have a great day.
Bye, YouTube. Have a great day.